So, let me ask you something for a second. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to focus on what's missing in your life? Like, you could have a lot of things going well. Maybe you have a place to live. Maybe you have friends or family. Maybe things are, relatively stable. But somehow your brain still goes straight to, yeah, but I wish I had that. A better job, more money, a different life. And it's kind of strange when you really think about it. Because even when things are okay, the mind still seems to search for what's missing. And this isn't just something modern. People have noticed this pattern for a really long time. One philosopher who talked about it was Arthur Schopenhauer. And he had this observation that's actually pretty simple, but also kind of uncomfortable. He basically said that people rarely think about what they already have, but they constantly think about what they lack. And honestly, the more you sit with that idea, the more you realize how accurate it is. Like, think about it. Imagine two people. One person might have a decent life, stable job, a roof over their head, food in the fridge, maybe even some free time. But their mind keeps going to things like, I wish I made more money. I wish I had a nicer car. I wish my life looked more like that person's. And suddenly the focus shifts. Instead of seeing what exists, the mind starts highlighting what's missing. And the weird part is that shift can change how your entire life feels. Because the brain doesn't measure happiness by absolute conditions. It measures it by comparison. Now, part of this actually comes from how our brains evolved. Humans didn't evolve in a world where things were comfortable and stable all the time. For most of human history, survival was uncertain. Food could run out. Shelter could fail. Danger could appear suddenly. So the brain developed this habit of constantly scanning for problems. What's missing? What could go wrong? What needs fixing? And back then, that mindset actually helped people survive. If you ignored problems, you didn't last very long. So paying attention to what was lacking was useful. It helped people stay alert. It helped them prepare. It helped them avoid danger. But the funny thing is, our brains still operate like that. Even though most people today aren't worried about finding food every day, the mind still scans for missing pieces. And that's where something interesting happens. Because when people finally get the things they want, the satisfaction usually doesn't last very long. Think about the last time you really wanted something. Maybe it was a new phone, or a new computer, or maybe a promotion, or a new car. At first, it feels amazing. You're excited. You feel like things are improving, but then slowly, it just becomes normal. The excitement fades, and the mind moves on to the next thing. Okay, now I want this. Humans get used to good things really quickly. A big improvement in life might feel incredible at first, but after a while it becomes the new baseline. And once that happens, the brain starts searching for the next upgrade. So in a strange way, human desire doesn't really have a finish line. There's always another goal, another improvement, another thing that seems like it will finally make life feel complete. But when people actually reach those goals, the sense of completion rarely lasts. And that's the cycle Schopenhauer was talking about. People keep chasing things, but they rarely pause to appreciate what they already have. Now, this doesn't mean wanting things is bad. Goals are important. Ambition is important. Wanting to improve your life is completely normal. But the problem starts when the mind only focuses on what's missing. Because if that's the only perspective you use, life will always feel incomplete, no matter how much progress you make, no matter how much you achieve. Imagine someone climbing a mountain. They reach one level, and instead of looking back and seeing how far they've come, they only look up. And yeah, there's always more mountain above. So if you only look upward, it can feel like you're not getting anywhere, even when you've actually made huge progress. And I think this is where that old observation becomes really interesting, because it's not just about philosophy, it's about attention. Where you place your attention shapes how your life feels. If your attention is always on what's missing, life will always seem lacking. But if you occasionally shift your attention toward what already exists, things can start to look very different. Like, think about small things for a second. Having a quiet moment, having someone who cares about you, having the ability to learn new things, having time to relax, even if it's just a little. These things often go unnoticed because the brain is busy chasing the next improvement. And again, none of this means you should stop trying to improve your life. That's not the point. The point is just understanding how the mind works. Because once you notice this pattern, you start seeing it everywhere. People constantly comparing, constantly upgrading, constantly searching for the next thing that will finally feel like enough. And sometimes the feeling of enough doesn't come from having more. It comes from noticing what's already there. And I guess that's the interesting takeaway from all of this. Happiness isn't always about changing your circumstances. Sometimes it's about changing where your attention goes. Because when the mind only looks for what's missing, life can feel like a constant list of problems. But when you occasionally step back and actually notice what exists, things start to feel a little different, a little calmer, a little more complete. And maybe that's something worth remembering, especially in a world where it's very easy to feel like you're always one step behind.